Hi, today we're talking to Louise from Essex. Morning, Louise, how are you?
Good morning, Sheelagh. I'm very well, thank you. The sun's shining, so I'm happy.
It certainly brightens up the day, doesn't it?
Yep.
So would you like to introduce yourself to everyone and tell us a little bit about your stroke journey so far?
Sure, yeah. I'm 65. I had my stroke when I was 59. So that's been 6 years of recovery. And initially it was hard, it felt like really, really hard work. And I made very, very slow progress. But 6 years down the line, looking back, I can see I've come a really long way. I'm walking again, I'm driving again. And I feel like I've rejoined the human race because I'm contributing to society, doing lots of things. And very gradually, I've learned how to enjoy my life more.
Well, that's it. There's lots of little steps to take, but it's worth
Right.
persevering, isn't it? It's, and it's the little things that are important to us stroke survivors to regain control of them. So before lockdown, what did you get up to before we went into the first lockdown?
Before lockdown, I was when I was working, I was a PE teacher, so I've always been very active. And after I had a stroke, I wanted to stay as active as I could. So I used to keep myself busy. I would go to the gym. I have a personal trainer. I live very close to a country park, so I walked a lot in the country park. And I also do some volunteering work at my local hospital. I used to go and volunteer one morning a week in the stroke ward at the local hospital, and I also volunteered one afternoon a week at an organisation called Stroke Rehab Dogs, which is in North London, and that uses animal-assisted therapy to support stroke survivors in taking their next steps. And I went there initially as a client, doing therapy with the dogs to help my recovery. After I'd been there a year, I became a volunteer, and my role, because I didn't actually have a dog, was to work with the clients that came on goal setting, and also to provide every week a thought for the day, which was a theme that I thought would be useful for the stroke survivors to think about for a week in terms of their goal setting. And I'd do a little talk to everybody who came, just for a few minutes, based on a particular theme. So it would be things like how to set goals and how useful they are, and how important it is to celebrate when you make a small progress. Celebrate small progress, because small progress adds up to big progress. And it was really, I was just giving them food for thought to encourage and inspire them to keep going.
I think that's very important, isn't it? Is sharing all these thoughts together, and them knowing that you've been through similar as well must have helped them. So what kind of therapy do the stroke survivors do then?
Well, they choose what area they want to work on. And when I first went, I wanted to try and improve the use I had of my left hand, because at the moment at that time my left hand didn't do anything at all. So I used to do activities with the dogs that involved my left hand. So I'd be doing things like brushing the dogs using my affected arm and hand, because that involved having to grip the brush and move my hand backwards and forwards and move my arm. And also it would help me with my balance, because I was having to transfer weight from one side to another to reach from one end of the dog to the other. So it was good for my balance and for my arm.
Oh, that's perfect.
And I would try and train them to do things. Train a dog who didn't already respond to the sit command, and I'd put them through their paces and train them how to do that. And if they did it properly, they'd get a treat, and I'd have to give them the treat in my affected hand.
So it's win-win. The dog wins, and your hand's getting better as well.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Good fun. It was a real nice break from the usual monotonous repetition. It was just really good fun activities that really helped me.
It would be, and to see the dog responding as well, you know, it's a two-way thing, and as you say, it's a bit more exciting than doing the usual humdrum exercises and things like that. So that's fantastic. So how have you managed to continue?
Squeezing a ball and so on.
Yeah, it's
That's just so
perfect. So,
boring.
and that's something people can do at home as well, isn't it? Think about grooming with their affected hand and
If they've got a pet at home.
exactly. So how have you coped during lockdown? Because obviously you wouldn't have got to those classes.
No, I mean, at the start of lockdown, I had a bit of a psychological dip and I began to feel quite depressed because I couldn't go to stroke rehab dogs anymore. My volunteering at the hospital was put on hold as well. And I felt like I was going to be stuck at home indefinitely, not able to go and do anything. I couldn't go to the gym or see my personal trainer. But I decided to take a leaf out of my own book. And one of the themes I'd done with 4-stroke rehab dogs was when it rains, look for rainbows. Now, when stroke rehab dogs was suspended at the beginning of March, we decided to try and keep in touch with the clients via our Facebook page, funnily enough. And I agreed to provide a little video every week. It's only 2-3 minutes, but it'd be the thought for the day on a video, and it's posted on the Facebook page every week. And at the start of lockdown, the thought for the day was, when it rains, look for rainbows.
Oh,
Try and find the positive in the negative situation. And I thought, well, I'll take my own advice, and I thought about what would be the positives of having all this extra time when I wasn't doing the activities that I was used to. And I realised that I'd have a lot of extra free time, and it would be a good opportunity for me to think about my own goals and where I wanted to go and what I wanted to achieve. And so I'm lucky. I live next door to a country park, and I decided that I'd set myself walking goals because walking is one of my favourite hobbies. So I set myself of going for a walk every single day in my exercise hour during lockdown, and just gradually increasing the distance that I walked and the time that I walked and the difficulty of the terrain. And over the 6 months of lockdown, I walked every day in the forest. And by the end of the lockdown, I was walking for 2 hours, going up and down hills in all weathers.
yeah.
And I was much more confident walking everywhere else. And I felt I'd come a really long way. So that was a really good target for me to set myself.
That's brilliant, and the weather would have helped you as well.
Yeah, because we had a really good summer and it was sunny every day. So it was lovely out for an hour every day into the sunshine and get into the forest and see all the trees and the flowers and the animals. It was good for my mental health as well as my physical health.
I think just getting outdoors is good for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you say, mental health and everything else. So how are you going to carry that forward this lockdown then?
Well, this lockdown, it's going to be a bit shorter, I hope, although we don't really know.
Oh,
And
fingers crossed.
I've decided to have a slightly different walking target, because what I really would like to do is be able to go out and walk without a stick and without my orthotic on my foot. So I'm setting myself a target of, by the end of lockdown in a month, to be able to walk to the end of my road and back without an orthotic and without a stick.
Brilliant.
Because ultimately I want to be able to walk for as far as I want without an orthotic and without a stick. But I'm going to start small and think big. Another one of our thoughts for the day. Just get to the end of the road and back, and then next week I'll go to the end of the road and back twice, and gradually build it up so that at the end, by the time the lockdown finishes, I'll be going round the block to the shops and back. Who knows where? You never know what's going to end up with these things. So
you'll be doing John O'Groats to Land's End next.
being interviewed on the way down. That's the sort of challenge I'd like, to walk from John O'Groats to Land's End.
Oh gosh, it's a fair old hike that though.
It is.
So you're missing going on the stroke wards. Did you feel that was really helpful for the people on the ward and yourself?
Yes, it was good for me because I felt like I was doing something useful, and the feedback I had was quite positive because I think it was good for the people who were in the stroke ward, because I could say to them, well, I'm where I was where you are now 5 years ago, but look at me now, you know. And they used to say to me, well, how did you get here? I said, well, I drove. Are you back driving again? Yes. And the eyes would light up because they would see that there's some hope, you know. Yeah, blimey, look at her. She's back driving. She's walking up and down the ward.
Well, that's it. It's hope in those first few days, weeks, and everything where, you know, life's just been pulled from underneath you and you just don't know what's ahead. It's nice to hear that there, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Whatever your light's going to be, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Um, you know, it's such a confusing time for everybody. You just don't know what to think about anything really initially, do
I
you?
mean, there were other volunteers in the hospital that I think I have an advantage because I can really understand what they're going through and empathise with how they're feeling.
And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
A huge difference. You know, anybody can go in there and say the right words, but I think going in there and, you know, meaning what you're saying and knowing what you're saying and what have you, and as I say, giving them hope, you know.
and being able to share your story with them is really
Yes.
useful, I think. Yeah,
And I think a lot of us younger stroke survivors initially feel that you're the only one that's happened to, which unfortunately we know isn't true. But initially, you know, you do. So it's nice to meet somebody else that has been through it. Um, so you don't feel
it's
so
yeah,
alone.
the other side.
Yes, yes. Fantastic. And you've been busy writing a book, I believe, in lockdown. You've had a very busy, busy 6, 7 months, haven't you?
What happened was I was doing these thoughts for the day for stroke rehab dogs, and Sally, the woman who runs it, said to me, you know, these are really good. You should put them into a book. And initially, I thought, oh, you know, I'm an ex-PE teacher, so what would I be doing writing a book for heaven's sake? You know, my literary achievements so far are getting O-level English literature and O-level English language 50 years ago. So it wasn't on my to-do list to write a book, but actually, she said to me, why don't you try, see what happens? So I took up the challenge and I sat down for a couple of days and I just wrote a structure for what I would put in the book if I was going to write one. And I thought I'll just give it a go to write chapter 1. And I sat down and I got my computer and I was tapping away one-handed. And before I knew where I was going, I'd finished chapter 1 and I was thinking, what am I going to put in the next chapter? And it just kept going. I just kept going. And after about 3 months, I had something that I thought was half reasonable. So I shared it with a couple of people and got feedback and added to it and changed it a little bit. And I'm pleased to say that now it's in the printing stage, and I've got one sample copy here. This is my book.
Oh, brilliant.
It's called From Burgos to Bedroom Floor and Back Again. And the reason for that title is that I had my stroke 2 days after returning home from spending 3 weeks in Spain walking El Camino.
Oh, God.
And I'd walked from Saint Jean de Pied de Port in the south of France through the Pyrenees to Burgos in northern Spain, flew home, and the next day I woke up on the bedroom floor having suffered an ischemic stroke in the middle of the night. I had no idea how I got onto the floor, but I'd obviously either fallen out of bed or got out of bed to go to the bathroom and fallen over onto the floor. So I'd come home from Burgos and ended up on the bedroom floor. But my ultimate ambition is to, once I'm fully recovered from the stroke, go back to Burgos and finish the bit of the El Camino that I didn't finish, which goes from Burgos to Santiago de Compostela, which is the final destination of the pilgrimage walk. So
Oh, how good would that feel?
Oh, that would be great. And this book really is the story of my recovery from waking up on the bedroom floor to sitting here telling you that I'm going to go back to Burgos and do the last bit of the walk.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And of course, all your walking practice and your walking practice without your stick and your orthic is going to, do you the world a good for walking that. It's kind of like going back and saying, you know, I'll show you, I'll do it. I'm not going to be defeated, isn't it?
Having that ultimate aim in the back of my head all the time really motivates me and keeps me going. Kept me going for walks every day and putting more hills in my daily walk and walking on more difficult terrain, things like that. It really motivates me and keeps me going. It's good to have dreams, I think.
Well, that's it. I think, however little or big our dreams are, we've got to cling on to something and aim to get there. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, but I think having that goal to aim to,
Yeah,
it
I've
gives you.
myself till I'm 70 to get back to Burgos and finish the walk. So I've got 5 years to keep going.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
I've got
You'll have to send you'll have to send us lots of photos on the Facebook group when you get there to say, I did
yeah.
it, I did it. That's fantastic. So how do you think things are going to go in this lockdown with your stroke rehab dogs? Are you just going to keep doing the videos every day and
Every week, yeah. Well, I will, yeah. Unfortunately, the building that we do the sessions in is a National Health Service building in Islington, and it's closed. And they have a lot of groups working in there, and all the groups have been suspended indefinitely. So we've got to wait for that building to open again before we can meet our clients again. So it's very hard, but
I think this is the
fingers crossed we'll get there.
Well, that's it. I think this is a frustrating thing for stroke survivors with everything that's gone on with COVID, is that their access to whatever therapy they might be attending, whether it's in a hospital or the stroke rehab dogs, it's just been taken away from them just now. It just feels like someone's come along and snatched all the help that they were getting. And it's I think some people are finding it quite hard, but you know what, one day all the buildings will be open and we'll have all the support groups and the physio and what have you. It'll hopefully all be back to some kind of normality.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
It is, but it's a weird time in our lives, shall we say. But I think us stroke survivors are used to coping with things that come to sort of, I don't know what the phrase is, smack us in the face, maybe. We've been
appropriate, yeah.
That's it with stroke, and we'll get through this as well, and what have you. So it's you can't put a time limit on it, but we'll all get there. And I think the fact that you've got another 5 years to go till you do your walk, I think you should be safe to travel in 5 years.
Hopefully.
Well, it's been lovely talking to you today, Louise. And
It's
as
nice.
I say, you'll have to come back and tell everybody that you've finished your walk. And good luck with your book. When's it going to be published?
It's available to pre-order right now, actually, but it's not actually on the shelves in the bookshops until the 4th of December.
Excellent. Well,
it's available at all good bookshops and through Amazon as well.
Good old Amazon. I think they're going to be very busy in the next few weeks, especially with Christmas coming up, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it'll go down a storm and everything. And as I say,
I'm just hoping that it helps one or two other people to get through what they're experiencing at the moment, and gives people some hope that there can be a future after stroke.
Well, that's it. I think that's what we all need, and that's why we're all trying to support each other, through like the interviews, through the Facebook group, through people writing books and what have you. It's as I said before, knowing other people are going through it, but you can come out the other end. It's everybody's journey is different, but we all get there in the end.
actually, in my book, I've tried to emphasise the positive bits because it's actually called From Burgos to Bedroom Floor and Back Again. And the subtitle is It's the Fun-Filled Adventures of a Stroke Thriver, Rebuilding a Life After Stroke When Merely Surviving Is Not Enough.
I love that. I love that. Stroke thriver. Bit of a mouthful, but I love that.
Stolen it from Maya Angelou, so it's come from a good source.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us today,
It's been
Louise, and all the best with everything.
yes, good luck, everybody.
Bye.